Welcome to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast, where insights, attitudes, and methods for success get illuminated. Learn what leaders and change workers have done and are doing now to create magnificent futures. We interview great guests who inspire you to overcome obstacles and achieve your goals. Be sure you visit our website at self-helpcoaching.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, just relax as you listen. You can do something else, but be ready to make an important note. And let's get started.
The title of this podcast is Write and Publish Your Short Book Today. Our guest is Mila Johansen. She has made writing and publishing the short book for entrepreneurs and writers super easy and accessible. She is also the inventor of the modular book. Now that is also very interesting, and we'll get into that because this is very, very interesting stuff. Everyone has at least one book to write. Let me tell you, Mila, I've got about 4 or 6.
Yeah.
All right. And they have been gnawing at me for a long time. So we'll get into that. So everyone has at least one book to write, and it's never been easier. Did you know the shortest book you can publish on Amazon with the spine is 36 pages? Anyone can write a 36-page book about something they know about in a day or two and self-publish it in a week or two. And this is really great content. This is really, really pertinent and relevant stuff to me and undoubtedly to millions of others. Because in my mind, like I said, I've done a lot of work, preliminary work on books, Mila, and I will tell you what Mila's all about. But I just have to talk about this now because it just prompts me what I just, what we're going to be talking about is that I have in my mind, okay, I'll do this book that way. I'll do that book this way. When the circumstance is right, I'll do this book. And you know what the result has been? I haven't written a freaking single book, not a one. So I'm looking forward to what Mila will be telling us about on how to get a book done. A book is a book. If Amazon will take it for 36 pages, I'm an author. So let me tell you about Mila Johansen. She is a public speaker, a writing coach, a teacher, and writer herself. She is a best-selling author of 5 books. Mila teaches screenwriting, creative writing, public speaking, and is also a writing coach. She loves giving people permission to write their short book, and I love that. Very often we think we're not going to do something because we shouldn't. Right? We shouldn't. I shouldn't change. I shouldn't be different than people expect. I don't have some permission. And you hit such a nerve with that, giving people permission. That is so right on the money. So she loves giving people permission to write their short book and teaches them how to do it. The short book can be used by entrepreneurs to become the expert in their field, to be a calling card, or as the outline for a longer book. And that really appeals to me, Mila. Mila's book, From Cowgirl to Congress, is about her famous suffragette grandmother, Jessie Haver Butler, who put together the Pulitzer School of Journalism. Wow. Spoke beside Bernard Shaw and Eleanor Roosevelt several times. That's some great claim to fame there. I mean, at least to your grandmother. In her early 90s, talking about the grandmother, she often shared the podium with Gloria Steinem and Marlo Thomas and took Mila along. So you got to meet all those people. That's great. Mila lives on her organic citrus ranch in Northern California with her husband, 4 dogs, and a cat. I love what you're about, Mila. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, Mila Johansen.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm honored and I'm excited to share this information that most people don't realize how easy it is and that they don't have to write that long book anymore. We're not doing Mishner. We're not doing the 500-page book.
That's got to be one of the biggest obstacles a would-be author has in their mind about this. They need to have this idea of perfection or their idea of their best foot forward is such a high standard that it need not be that is, and not that you should be sloppy or complacent. I'm sure that if you set yourself a standard for a short book, it would be a fine book, as long as it's good content. And I want to say something before we proceed. because we're getting all to this great stuff. As I love that you've got 4 dogs and a cat. I am a cat and dog lover. I'm a dog guy, though I have a bunch of cats now, and they're like my children.
Yeah.
They're like, my girlfriend, they're like, well, my girlfriend has actual children, real humans, but in my house, we've got cats, and I'm really a dog guy. So, boy, they are the greatest friends to humans there are. They're like children, I'm sure.
You know what I like about dogs is they don't have to go get their purse. They're ready to go. If it was 3 a.m., they'd go, okay, let's go. I really like that they don't have any accoutrements or things. We should all strive to be a little more like that, maybe.
Excellent point. I live in Brooklyn, and I didn't even walk my dogs. I opened my door and they would go out into my backyard and walk themselves. I trained them to do that because they're so intelligent. Most people don't realize this about dogs. Many people have asked me to train their dogs because my first dog, Sid, was actually in 13 films because he was incredibly smart and obedient. And he did things I never even taught him to do. I was like, how do you do that? Because if you respect the intelligence of a person or something, a dog in here, it'll come out. But if you put, lower the standard or condescend or think they're not able, then it won't. They'll operate at the level that you expect, in this close relationship. I expected my dog to be smart and do great things. Therefore he did. I mean, yeah, I had to train him, but I believed it, and therefore he believed it. So great stuff. So how did you become a writer?
Well, I should start with my grandmother just for a few minutes, if you don't mind. My grandmother was a wonderful person who actually grew up with terrible tragedies on a Colorado cattle ranch. I don't even go into them. They were so bad. And her mother took her to see Susan B. Anthony speak from the back of a wagon one day, and her mother died that night when they came home, and all these other tragedies. But a teacher saw how brilliant she was and got her into Smith College on the East Coast, in New England. And then that's where she got her first job after that, to put together the Pulitzer School of Journalism, and the rest is history. And she was the main person who helped raise me, besides my mother, who was kind of checked out. And I had a very rough childhood, but not like hers at all, not as bad. Mine was more like we went to bed without dinner, and then we went to school without lunch, and I would watch the other kids eat their lunch. But the thing is, I always knew who I was. I don't know why. I never wanted to be them with their fancy dresses, and I don't want people to feel sorry for me, because later on I married a farmer. But the thing is that I wanted to be a writer. So I saw Mary Poppins, and I was about 8.
I love that movie.
Oh, and the first one, right? And so, I mean, they're all good. But anyway.
Let me say one other thing, Mila. When I was, in elementary school, I was even in the play, but as an extra.
Oh, you were? Oh, cool. And anyway, so we went to, so I came home from Mary Poppins, and I did some chalk drawings. I was going to jump into the chalk drawings because I really believed I could do that. So I drew them, and I can't even draw stick people, so you can imagine they weren't very good. And I tried to jump in about 7 times, and it didn't work, but I still believe I could have. I still know that. I still believe it. So then I thought to myself, well, I can't go there, so maybe I could be a writer. Like, I was reading Nancy Drew and the Bobbsey twins, and I thought, I'll be a writer. So I started writing, and I wrote a page and a half, and I quit because I was a kid. And then later on, when I was 18, my mother tricked me into becoming a writer. She said, Mila, I know you want to be a writer. Why don't you write 1 sentence a day for 30 days? And I went, I could do 1 sentence a day. Well, guess what, Tony? You can't do 1 sentence a day, because it's like potato chips. By the end of the month, I was writing a page or a page and a half a day, and I became a writer, and the rest is history. Oh, there's a kitty cat.
Fantastic. So I think the lesson, or we can extrapolate from that, is that drop by drop, the bucket gets filled. But, if you're looking to fill a bucket, you might have to put more than 1 drop at a time in there. You've got to have a little bit more effort, a little bit more quantity, but definitely consistency is where it's at.
Well, right now in the writer's world, the thing going around is 20 minutes a day is all we ask. And I even tell all my students and clients in all the classes I teach that 5 minutes a day adds up to a book. And I've been saying it for a couple decades while I've been teaching, but guess what? I found a quote from Toni Morrison, the novelist. And she said that that her first book she wrote in 15 minutes a day, because that's all the time she had between raising children and work. And the rest is history. She's a famous novelist. So that's what I say. You don't have to write for these long stints anymore. You know, when I go to the gym, I go in my dress clothes because I'm working or whatever I'm doing, and I stop my car, I walk in, whatever shoes, whatever I'm in, I don't change my clothes, I walk for 20 minutes and I walk out. It's better that you walk for 20 minutes than you don't. It's better that you write for 5 minutes than you don't. And usually 5 minutes will lead to more.
Right. But just to give you, just to put it in your mind, just 5 minutes. I can do 5 minutes. And usually you can go, I can do much more than this. But if you have it in your mind, I'm an NLP practitioner. And the worst problem that permeates the world is procrastination. People procrastinate. And one of the best ways is, well, there's a number of ways depending on what's going on in mind, but is to chunk down, as we say in NLP, which is to make it smaller. Forget about this big book or exercise, this beach body. Can you do 5 minutes? Right? Can you do 5 minutes? Yeah, I could do 5 minutes. I can do 5 minutes. And as a coach, I coach people to do that. Even though I don't work one-on-one anymore. I've created a virtual coaching program. So I'm the head of a tech coaching company when we're launching our product. So, but you know what, even when you know something, it's often hard to do what you know is the right thing. So very often you need a coach like yourself, a writing coach to coach you to write, because and NLP, NLP is very effective, but it's much more effective to have an NLP coach you, as opposed to me. I'm an NLP practitioner and not use these tools that I have, because you're inside this picture emotionally, and it's hard to break free of the emotions that affect you, or you could, but you have to do it. I have a great toolbox, but unless I'm using the tools, they're just sitting there in that toolbox.
Well, I think with me, I give people permission to only write for 5 minutes a day. I give people permission to write the short book. And what I give a warning before I teach every time. I go, warning, warning. And this is to all of you too. Like Tony said, he has not just one book, but he has 6 books. So I warn people that by the time I'm done with them, even for 1 hour, they're probably going to think of many more books than the one they're thinking of writing. And maybe they're going to start with the other one because it's easier. They could get it under their belt. They could get it up on Amazon. It's so easy to do Amazon. And, Amazon is great. Their KDP program is Kindle Direct Publishing. And I would suggest everyone go sign in, get signed up, get your author page going with your bio. Even if your book's not going to be ready for a year, they'll ask you for your payment plan, like, a bank account to put it in. But the thing is, and it's your same password as Amazon, but you're ready to go. And do you know that you could load your book all by yourself? It will lead you straight through how to do it. And you can get beautiful, beautiful covers made on places like Fiverr. And there's another place called Book Cover Zone. And you buy a cover for $80 and it's yours. It doesn't go to anyone else afterwards. And here's the deal about the books. The shortest book you can put on Amazon with a spine, because we want a little spine, is 36 pages. You can do shorter. But I think a spine is good. And so then this book, my book that I'm giving away as a gift to anyone here, it has everything in it. It's a fantastic book on how to, because the best time to start promoting your book, Tony.
By the way, the vast majority of people are listening, not watching. Mila just held up a really nice looking book that's called The 101 Surprising Tips to Promote Your Book, When and How to Build Hype.
Well, and because, and this, I heard this from another writing coach, but I've been saying this for years. The best time to start building hype for your book was a year ago, but the next best time is today. It's that tree quote, I use that. And so this one is 75 pages. You can see it's very thin. So a 36-page book would be a little thinner. And then this book about my dogs, Tony, I should send it to you. It's an avant-garde way to train your dogs that makes dog trainers really angry because they don't like hearing my new ideas. But that's okay, because I like to push the envelope. And so this one is the comfortable, which most people are writing right now, 125 pages. So most people are opting to do the 120 to 135 comfortable pages. My grandmother's book, From Cowgirl to Congress, is 300 pages. So you can see the difference between
Right. So they
125, 300. That's the longest the book should be right now.
So-
And yeah.
So
Well,
those listening, she's held up 3 different books and the different sizes. And I gotta say, I mean, certainly the bigger one looked more impressive, but I've got to say the smaller ones looked more attractive because I know because I'm not a great reader, you know. I mean I read well, but you know I like really dive into something and really soak it up, so I don't read quickly. So the smaller books were more attractive to me, and I didn't dismiss them. I was like, oh, that's a small book. It really like that's more attractive. I like to read that book because it wouldn't take me a long time. I wouldn't stop and start, you know, start and stop. So I didn't think about it until this discussion. So that's very important, I think.
yeah, and you know, well, and one thing is, is that like with these books, I wanted my dog book to be 125 pages, and it was at 105. So what I do, there's these tricks. They're called fillers, and so what you do, and it makes it easier for people to read because people, as you know, are so ADD these days, and there's so much coming at us. Maybe we're not ADD, but there's so much coming. We have to select what we're going to read, and like you said, the smaller book appealed to you because you could read it. So both with the 101 surprising tips and the dog book, I did the paragraphs double spaced so that you can pick them out in chunks and read them easily, almost like people are doing blogs now, you know how they're making them like that with the headings. And then I put 1.5 between sentences instead of 1, so that also spread it out. And I just read a really popular novel, Big Little Lies, on it's so funny, it's Big Little Lies on the New York Times bestseller. And they did the same thing because they wanted to make it easier for readers. And that's a major book in the world. So doing it is not cheating. It's a great way of doing it. And then at the end, I wanted 5 more pages.
So let me see. Hold on, Mila. Let me see if I get this clearly. So there's less words in the book than someone might think because you used more spacing. Is that what?
Exactly.
Okay. So it took you less effort, less time to create the book because of this technique.
Yes, but also it makes it easier to read for most people.
It's a lot. Yeah, I know that's what you were expounding on, but I wanted to
sure
talk about that. That's great. that just makes it more doable. Obviously, that's fantastic.
Well, and then also another thing I did, and I think you should do it even if your book was longer, and you know, and if you didn't do all that spacing, is I put value at the end of the book. For the dog book, I found this calendar that you would love. I'm going to send you this book, Tony, and it's all the dates for dogs and cats in the world all through a year, and it's like National Leash Day, National Barf Day, National Training Day, all kinds of dog days. You know what I'm saying?
Great. That is great. And I got to tell you, you know, one of the first things that my company is going to do that's non-business when we can is to create a foundation for cats and dogs because as an example, in New York, I'm in New York City, 10,000 dogs are put down every year in New York City alone unnecessarily. So I have, for example, now for one of our goals is I want to make that number 0. Now, obviously, sometimes a dog has to be put down, but not because they're unwanted. You know, that's awful. That's horrendous. You know, so many cats and dogs just need a home. But if you can help people and to do that, then they can get a home. You know, so you got to work with the person more than the cat and the dog. But if you do, you can get homes for all these cats and dogs. And I want to start here in New York and then spread nationwide and internationally. That's a great vision I have.
I love that. And have you noticed that they make it harder and harder to adopt that dog, and they make a little bit of money and all these hoops, and so some families it's a little hard for them, I think.
It is. Okay, but I want to all right, let me just take a moment I'll take our first commercial break, and then we'll get into more of this great discussion with Mila Johansen.
This episode of Self-Help Coaching is brought to you by Perficio. What if you could get the results of being coached without a human coach? What if a computer could coach you? Visit www.perficio.io. That's PERFICIO.io, where you can get coached without scrutiny, judgment, or pressure.
You're listening to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast with me, your host, Tony Petrozza. We're talking with Mila Johansen, having a wonderful conversation about writing books and how it's much more doable than you might have thought and the different facets of it. But let me get straight out. Why write the short book?
Oh, there's many reasons. One is it's attainable. And the next reason, though, is that I'm working with tremendous amount of business people who want a short book as a calling card and a giveaway. And then also it can be selling on Amazon at the same time. So what I have a student, she was trying to write a book about actually taking care of her husband in his passing. And because right now, you won't believe this, Tony, but the two most popular subjects in books that I'm learning from all the groups I'm in is caretaking. And you're not gonna believe the next one, clutter. And so this one woman, she said to me, she came to my one of my 6-week workshops, and she said, "Oh my God, you mean I could write the short book first? I could do that." I go, "Yes," and then you can use it for the outline for your longer book. And so the reason to write your short book is to get it done for one reason, one thing. And so I'm working with a lot of people in business who want to show their expertise. You have a book out there, and people are going to want you on their podcast. They're going to want you speaking in their summits. You may get paid to speak. There's many reasons to have a book. You can do all that without a book, because I tell all my students when they first come and they don't have a book yet, go sign up for podcasts now, because believe it or not, you already know your material. You don't have to wait for a book, but a book is a really good flag, a really good card to hand out. And like today, I'm handing out my 101 surprising tips to promote your book.
You know what? Yeah. I got to tell you, Mila, and I say this with utmost sincerity and genuineness. You know, like I've talked, because like I said to you and the audience is listening, I've thought about books. I have a bunch of work written on books, either preliminary stuff or some, some progress in it. I know you're involved with screenplays, but I don't want to put that aside. But I've got like 40 movie ideas. I have a few movies completely. I know everything in the movie. With all this work, but not actually written a screenplay. But let me put that aside. Let's just focus on books. What I wanted to, I'm in personal development, and my company has created a virtual coaching program that's going to revolutionize self-help. So the idea was that, and we've had difficulties with capitalization, so we haven't launched yet. So, but the idea was that I would write a blog about the history of self-help. I mean, among other things, but the history of self-help, and then I would make that into a book, and then use that as a calling card, as a promotion. I'm the author, right? But I got to tell you, I haven't done, regarding this blog and this goal of writing the history of self-help blog and then turning into a book, I haven't done shit with this idea and endeavor. And so I'm like, oh yeah, it needed 100 blogs, which I would distill into a book, and I haven't done anything. So right now, and so the audience is listening, you're here, the book expert, I am making a declaration right now. And it is that I am going to not look into, I am going to see what value Mila Johansen offers me, whatever and I don't mean as a friend, I mean, what she does, the value that she offers people. And I am going to write that friggin' book.
Let me give you a clue how to start it and get it done. This is real quick, and this is for everybody. This is how I teach a program 4 times a year called Write Your Short Book in a Day. And so the first thing we do is we brainstorm titles, but you don't really need a title yet, because you're probably going to get a better title along the way. So we call it a working title. But here's what you do, Tony. You go in and you make a bullet list of everything you want to talk about, 10, maybe 20 things. I want to talk about the history of it. I want to talk about the psychiatrists. I want to talk about, all the things. I'm just saying things.
Right, but you're saying outline 10 things.
Yeah, but it's just a bullet list. It's just
bullet list. Okay,
yeah.
not even an outline, just a bullet list.
Don't do an outline, because guess what? This is going to be your outline. Now, when I did the dog book, for some reason, it came to me that every little title was so funny. I have funny titles in here, and they first came, so you can write your titles if they come, but if they don't, do a bullet list for subject. So I did the sneaky dog, Houdini dog. Yikes, I lost my dog. are you a dog whisperer? And that all came to me because I love my dog so much. But when I'm writing now at home.
Hold on a second. Was that your bullet list, or that was your title ideas?
It's funny. No, this was my chapter list. So I asked people, write a bullet list or a chapter list. But for some reason, usually when I write the bullet list, it just comes out subject, collars, leashes, dogs. But this time, those funny titles came to me for my chapters. They just came out because dogs are funny, And so for my homeschool book I'm writing now, because, after COVID, they say 40% of people are still going to want to homeschool because they found out it's easier than they thought. So for that, I more put in science camp, tutors. I just put in things I wanted to touch on, like subjects. So either with this list, you name your chapters, but don't do that because it may take too much perseverating and thinking. And for me, somehow it just came out with the dogs. And then later on, I changed some of the titles, but put them down in random order, as you think of them. And then you're going to have an outline. Then here's how you start your book. This is so fun. You pick the subject that you think you could write right now, super quick, and get it out, the easiest thing. Pick the easiest thing. And then that can be at the top or the middle or the end. For my novel I just wrote, which goes into Italy that we were talking about earlier, that ends up in Italy, I wrote it in Rimo Nano. That's a program where in November you write a book and they keep you, they hold you accountable, and you write your book in a month. I wrote the last chapter first because it came to me. So there's no rules. There's no rules in writing. There's only one rule. Do it. Just write. And, even Barbara Kingsolver says, give yourself permission to write a bad book and then work on it till it's a really good book. So what she means is we want to blather it on the page, get it down. Do not think, and when you go back and read it later, you're going to be so surprised how much better it is than you thought it was. But so we start with this chapter list or bullet list. It depends what whatever comes out. Don't censor it. Just get it down on the page. Tony, if you did that tonight, you'd go, oh, I could write about number 5. I just write that now. It will just come to you because now you have these subjects written down and it becomes a very simple outline. There's 2 kinds of writers. And I've always been the second until now. Outliners and pantsers, which means we fly by the seat of our pants. I've never outlined a book until I started writing these short books, but these are nonfiction books, so that's why I do need like a subject list. But now I outlined my book for Rimo Nano that ends up in Italy, and it just came out on the page because I had outlined it. So now I'm thinking maybe I'm more of an outliner, but I would say be both. Like don't be locked into a outline. So when you make that list, that's not set in stone. That's just to get you started. That's just like, oh, and then later on, and keep it up on your desktop. So then you go, oh, I want to hit the thing about coffee, where you just put up your coffee cups or whatever, So just any subject, and you go back to your list on your desktop and add that in. Then tomorrow you think of, oh my God, I want to talk about the bird in the tree or whatever, you know what I mean? And you go put that in and you keep that list running. And then I've been writing in Drive. I've never used Drive, Google Drive before, because it saves it automatically and it has all these fixes automatically. And I'm really liking it. So that's what you
know, thing I totally love about Google. I mean, I usually, MS Word is my favorite app. I've been using it's what I use by far most. But what I love about Google Docs is the talking tool. I just talk and it writes. Oh my God, it's just.
That's another way. Do you know, Tony? Here's another easy way to write. I'm doing this with my class this week. I'm going to have them each do it. You go onto Zoom and you record yourself, because usually when I meet someone for the first time for an hour, session, they talk for the first half hour telling me about their book, and I record it and then I give them the transcript. And the reason is it was so perfect. The first time they talk about their book is so good. So I have some people now only writing their books through talking.
Yes.
So
yes.
Perfect. So would you say Google Drive would be a great way to do that? instead of Zoom? Would that be, what do you think?
Well, Google Drive is just a cloud storage. So, I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, it's awesome. Cloud storage is where it's at. You know, you can access your stuff wherever you want. How can you possibly beat that? So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
great. It sounds like it might be insincere, but you have totally sold me on your message and the value that you offer. Because, and I'm not going to make any swearings or, vows, because that's nonsense. What you offer is so valuable. And and not just value, but a relief, because as a coach, I really know, I'm like a practical psychologist that never went to school. Nah, I said that as a joke, because I did go to college, but for media, but a good coach is a practical psychologist. And I realized, in working with people, that one of the greatest causes of stress are all the incomplete things that we have, all the things that we wanted to do that we never did, or we quit, but all these things that were incomplete, And so I have stress about all these incompletions. And when I think about writing a book, even though I may adjust that image, but I think about it getting done, I feel elation. Just in this moment, I feel elated. Like I want to.
Yeah. Why don't you start with a 36-page book? I don't care.
Yes, absolutely.
And you get it up on Amazon and you get it published, you get it in your hand, and you're going to go, oh my God. I helped someone in January put their book together. The guy goes, oh my God, I can totally do this. I'm writing the next book now. So just get that in your hand, Tony, and all of you, get that 36-page book in your hand.
That's exactly what I'm thinking about. This is awesome stuff.
Well, I want to talk about the
hold on, Mila. Let's take a moment to hear from our sponsor, and we'll come back and we will talk, my dear woman. Okay, let's take a moment to hear from our sponsor. We'll be right back with Mila Johansen.
This episode of Self-Help Coaching is brought to you by Proficio. What are the secrets to wealth? Benjamin Franklin taught them, but people are ignorant or just forget. What if you make sure neither afflicts you? Visit www.proficio.io. That's PERFICIO.io, where you can actually become certain you are on your way to wealth.
You're listening to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast with me, your host, Tony Petrozza. We are having an awesome discussion with Mila Johansen. We're talking about how you can write your book now, even though you thought it would be a year from now, and that was 20 years ago. And here you are, not an author yet, and she's saying you're going to be an author now, and it is totally jiving with me. It's resonating with me, and I'm already making commitments in my mind, and even out loud, that I'm going to do the stuff that take her up on the value that she offers, because it resonates big time. Great stuff. So let me ask my next question, Mila. How easy is it to self-publish on Amazon right now? You already alluded to it a bit, but let's get into the easiness of it.
Super easy. Sign up for KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, which is their form, and they do it. The great thing is it's print on demand. So when someone orders a book, they print it, or maybe they might print 10, 20 ahead once you get it published. And to load it is so simple. It's almost like loading, well, I can't think of something else, but you go on, they'll lead you right through. Put it here, put it here, put it here, put it here. Now, here's the thing. If you go into KDP and join, they have a place in KDP University to get a template. You need a template, because guess what? Tony, do this. Get a template and start typing right into it. This industry standard is 6x9, a 6x9 book, 6x9. And so go in and get a 6x9 template.
Is this part of your 36-page program?
Yes. Yes, you go in and you make your own template through KDP. They'll just have them there for you. You have to download it, put it on your desktop. But there's two kinds. There's an empty one and a placeholder one. Get the placeholder one, because it's great. The page numbers are already in there, and then it's already there. It goes title page. So then what you do is you black out their title, put yours in. Then you go to copyright page. Save that, because you're going to develop your copyright page. Then go to chapter thing and put in your bullet list for now, and you can change it as you go. And so you black theirs out, but don't black out the whole thing. Only black out that, put that in. Chapter list, put that in. first chapter, put that in. So just black it out as you go. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it's a placeholder. They used to have it all in Latin. Now they have it in English. And then another. So do that. Start with a template and type into the template for self-publishing. If you were going to go traditionally published, which I touch on lightly in every class, then you would have to do 8x9 Times New Roman, 12 point to the measurements, which I think is an inch on each margin. And final answer, that's all you can do. If you're doing a script for Hollywood, it has to be in Courier, 12 point in their exact format. Final answer, you can't do anything else. But let's just go to self-publishing. It's all your decision.
Let me ask you a question about self-publishing, Miss KDP. What kind of costs are involved with Amazon?
Completely free.
Wow. Holy smokes.
Completely free. The thing I do say you probably need to pay for, and I really suggest this, is a professional, I repeat after me, professional editor, because we don't want more bad books out there, and you cannot edit your own book, and your friends will be pretty good. You can have beta readers to read it, and then they might like help you with some of it, but then they might also say, I don't understand this part, and then you could clear that up. Beta readers are the first readers, beta first. But then
that sounds like a wonderful method and process. By the way, do you know who Rex Sykes is? He's a renowned NLP master trainer. He's got a great book that's been out about 1.5 years now called Life on Your Terms. You're looking at the first editor. Now, there was other editors that came after me, but I was the first editor who helped put together the original, the outline. I'm the first guy. So, and editing is invaluable. I think editing maybe, obviously without the author, there won't be a book, but without the editor to catch all the mistakes, it's just, it's all
one thing you have to pay for. Please pay for that one thing, please. But you can go to Fiverr and get covers made for like $25, $35. Covers are real easy. I think you could get a book out for $100, except for the editor. If you're because you want to get a good cover, don't make your own cover. Okay, please don't make your own cover. Unless you're an extreme artist. And here's how you do it.
You can do the Johansen stick figures when she was years old.
Thank you. Right, exactly. And I'm not embarrassed about that because I'm a great writer.
No, that was, of course.
No, I love it. I'm fine with that. I know great artists because they work for me, and I have things like that. But one thing is here's how you decide how you want your book to look. Because when you self-publish, guess what? It's all up to you. You're the boss. And so you go to your bookshelf, Tony, and you open 10 books tonight, and you see how they did it. How does their chapters look? Where are their page numbers? How does their forward look? And their title page, and you start looking to see what you would like your book to look like. And that's how you do it. And then let's say also that you're going to write your book about self-help and the history of it. I think it would be great, and this is for a lot of you in the nonfiction department, to make a workbook to go along with it, which would be 11 by 8.5 by 11. And so that's what I'm doing. I have this book, 101 Surprising Tips, and I have a comprehensive workbook that goes along with it. So between this book,
I was going to ask you about that. So your book is a home study course, right?
My book is actually just things you can do to start promoting yourself and to get it done, and it's a guide.
So it's not more than a home study course. It's an action course. It's a guide to take action and succeed.
And my work, and in my workbook, between my workbook and my 101 Surprising Tips, every single thing I teach is written down. I really like to have everything I teach written down, but I tell people, don't be overwhelmed by the workbook. Do one thing at a time. And my workbook, Tony, is not a fill-in workbook. You can do either way, but mine is a to-do list. Do this, do this, do this, do this, and only do as much as you want. Some people want to do it all. Some people don't.
You know what? You're talking to the right guy. When I created my virtual coaching program, Proficio, the main problem in personal development and self-help, and what you talk about really is self-help. Yes, it's an action guide, but that's the vast majority of self-help is an action guide. The problem with self-help is, first of all, self-help worked. I would have been a millionaire 20 years ago. right? Self-help doesn't work because the action is missing. So, but here's the 4 problems with self-help. Person doesn't, they buy Mila's book because it's gonna look great, and they don't even open it. Much more people do that than you even realize. Or you can be like me, you're a great starter, terrible finisher. They don't even finish it. Okay, and those are 2 very huge problems. But let's get into the real substantive problems. They don't. Okay, you got the step-by-step guide by Mila Johansen to become an author. It's real simple. It's it's a no-brainer, and they don't do it. They don't apply a single thing. And even if they did, that would be grossly insufficient, because the most important thing in personal development, self-help, is to take consistent action to accomplish the goal or to move forward towards it. And that's what's missing in self-help. Well, my app, Perficio, does. A person would buy your book or your course and get every single thing that you promised them that they would get. You said that they're going to be an author, they would be an author, because it's totally customized to get a person to act consistently, coach them in a very customized way, because that's what we need. You're a writing coach. Look, you put out books on writing, but yet you're a writing coach because it's an invaluable thing, right? So, I just like I was, I'm a personal development coach. People need a little bit more very often, even typically. And so a coach such as yourself, in this case, an automated coach, it's a robot coach that knows you, would make it work. So, and that's coming out soon. Like, we've had delays, but we'll talk about that. But see, what you're talking about is fantastic. I'm like, yeah, let me just get this book or get this coach and do the work and be an author. And then, but will I do it? Right? That's the thing. That's the thing, man. Will I do it? Do operative word. So I love what you offer is great, but action is everything, people, isn't it? Those of you listening or watching, all these goals or ideas you have, what happens to them without the action? And it's not just, sporadic action, or basically insufficient action. It has to be, consistency is the best way to accomplish a goal quickly. It is the best consistency, but action is necessary. There's no getting around. You can do a little action, even a lot of action, you get more. And consistent, you get rapidity. But you've got to take action. You've got to do enough work in order to happen, or things to happen, because what Mila is offering is really she makes it so accessible, so doable. Well, before it's like, okay, yeah, I got to be great. I need this, I need that. And then what happens? You never do anything. Now she offers these, her coaching or her book, with this content that says, no, you don't have to do any of that. Just do this, do 5 minutes a day, use the free app at Amazon. It's like, wow. But she guides you to do it. So we're going to be talking more about how I can help you later on, Mila. But that is awesome what you offer. You got the expertise, the guidance, so people don't have to do the research. You've done it for them. They just have to follow your instructions. This is fantastic, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to be one.
And Tony, let me make it even easier for you. I have a thing. One of my friends came to me, one of my writing people that I'm in a group with, and she said, Mila, I have 500 beautifully written blogs. I go, oh my God, you have 5 books there. Why don't we make books out of your blogs? So let's say that we don't even have to write anything. Let's say that you could even take the transcripts from some of your shows, Tony, or you could take from blogs, you could do from things you've written before, and we start putting those into books. Get that first book under your belt, like I always say. So, and let's say you have blogs. Let's say you have transcripts from things you've done. Let's say it's an old book you want to redo. And here's another way of looking at it. With my grandmother's book, From Cowgirl to Congress, 300 pages, I'm taking this book backwards. I'm going to make it into 5 shorter books, with like when she was Pulitzer School of Journalism, when she was Bernard Shaw, when she was with Eleanor Roosevelt, when she was the first woman lobbyist at the Capitol during women getting the vote. I'm going to make it into 5 shorter books. So first of all, I say, write your short book and make that into 3 or 4 books. That's the modular concept I've come up with. I invented the modular concept because if I was at my house, you would see a whole wall of plays and musicals I've written. And what happened was I wrote them all to be an hour and a half long for our theater company. But I realized most teachers and theater companies didn't have that amount of time to rehearse. So I made all the long ones into mediums and all the mediums into short. So I have 3 versions of each play that have gone around the world with theater companies. And so I realized when I was doing my books, I could do the same thing with my books. I could have my short, medium, and long book, or even more. So I'm going to have 6 books out of From Cowgirl to Congress.
The dynamics are just fantastic. I mean, you can do it different ways
Yeah.
and really make it work for you. It's just fantastic how you disassembled this and articulated this and made it, made it practical and doable. It's fantastic. Great work, Mila. This is really resonating with me.
I am the most out of the box thinker you could almost ever find. And
Me too.
as far as this goes,
I live out of the box.
yeah, I can see we really are simpatico,
That's great stuff. All right, let's take our final break. And right after that, we'll come back with the last segment with Mila Johansen. This has been a most wonderful conversation. I'm kind of sorry that it has to end, but I think this is the beginning of a friendship, so it's good. Okay, let's take a moment for our final break, and we'll be right back with Mila Johansen.
This episode of Self-Help Coaching is brought to you by Perficio. People start something, then something comes up, or they need a break or even a vacation, and they often never get back on track. Perficio is designed to allow all of this. Visit www.perficio.io. That's PERFICIO.io, where you can live your life as you learn and make progress toward your life-changing goals.
You are listening to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast with me, your host, Tony Petrozza. We're here with Mila Johansen having an incredible conversation about how you could become an author right now. This is no hype. If you haven't been listening to this since the beginning, I encourage you to because what she says is quite obviously true. This is not a bunch of hype. You can get this done relatively quickly, and it's been awesome, and it's really got me moving and moving in my mind, and I haven't made the physical moves yet, but I've already decided to do this because it's so valuable. It's what I've been wanting to do. Of course, I had these ideas which caused me to be paralyzed and not act, and now I really see, and without even being to your websites or anything yet, that this I can act, and I can make things happen, things that that were quite frankly didn't happen at all. and of course, at the beginning, Mila was talking about why what are the benefits to being an author, especially for an entrepreneur. They're your calling card, they bring you credibility, they promote you. And obviously, there's so many reasons to be an author for an entrepreneur. So we've already covered that. But now we're going to get into the final question is what is the difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing?
Okay, well, the great thing is with self-publishing, you can be published today, tomorrow, right away. And with traditional publishing, it may take 2 years to find an agent and 2 more years to be published, unless you went straight to the publishers. Now, agents, you can simultaneously submit to as many agents as you want. Now, if you want to do that, go to Query Tracker, and that program will show you everybody who's looking for your kind of book, and it will keep track of everyone you've sent it to. But what I know is a few people who were not famous, but they were pretty substantial authors through traditional publishing have gone back to self-publishing through Amazon because they find out they actually, in the end, because they already had a following, made more money. Because like with my Cowgirl to Congress book, 300 pages, I make about $6.35 a buck. And so with other publishing through other people, it might be like $2, but then again, you might sell more books. So it's kind of a six of one. So here's what I suggest is that you start publishing on Amazon with your 36-page book, your 98-page book, 98 pages to get your name on the spine, by the way, I forgot to mention that. And then, so you can't get your name on the spine until you get to 98
Gotcha.
pages.
What if I have a really small name? Kidding.
No, they don't have room on the spine. They won't allow it.
Right.
But I don't think. But anyway, so then you wait, where was I? And anyway, so Here's what I would do. I would do that. I would start publishing there. So you start getting publishing, you start, building a name for yourself. But then you say you have a bigger book and it's ready. Start shopping it around to the agents and to the publishers and hold off on that book. And I have a few like that. I have like 2 books I'm going to shop around, even though I'm publishing books almost every month now, because the more books you publish on Amazon, the more.
Wait. You're publishing books almost every month now?
Yeah.
I mean, I know of 3 books. So I know you've written 5. I know you showed me 3.
Well, this month or next month, I'm putting out my workbook finally. I keep adding to it every time I teach. So, but here's the great thing about Amazon. Here is the great thing. So that was a quick thing on traditional. We can do more of that another day. But on Amazon, let's say that okay, we're still finding mistakes in this book. You're always going to find mistakes. I'm sorry. I was traditionally published with my first 2 books, and my publisher told me they're on the 20th edition of one of their books, and they're still finding mistakes. So when you find a few little mistakes, you can go into Amazon, you can fix them and just republish. And then if you want to change a whole section of your book, then you make a new PDF and reload, but you can change it all you want. And here's the great thing about Amazon. This is almost the best thing, Tony. You can get samples. Like this book, we had to get 8 samples because there's tons of pictures in it and meta files. And this was a very difficult book. That's why I wrote the Fluffy Dog book next. But the thing is that this book, we got samples and we did 8. The dog book only took 1 sample, but you don't want to publish until you get samples. And this book here, if I buy it on Amazon to take with me when I speak, and then I can sell it, I only pay $4.35 to Amazon per copy, plus 50 cents shipping, so $5. And then the dog book was only $2.35. And so I carry them with me and people buy them all the time. And the best way to sell books almost is when I speak, every single person in that room will buy the book. And I do ask for that also. And so I always have copies with me. But the great thing is you get these copies, you can see what your book's going to look like, and you can make all the changes you want as many times as you want. They just charge you that little $4.35 or $2.35 and send it to you. And then I also make copies for my beta readers. So let's say I'm going to do this so I can fix it. I'll get 5 copies, hand them out to my beta readers, even though most beta readers want a PDF because they're not in the same town as you. So that's something else to think about. They want something they can mark up, and so that's just the great thing about Amazon. Are these samples are just beyond. And then I always have 20 books in my file cabinet ready to go in case I'm speaking somewhere. I met a woman the other day who knew me, and I told her about my book, and she got so excited she went and bought it right away from our local bookstore. She called me up. She goes, "Okay, ship me 20 books right now. I'm going to give them all away to my friends for my birthday. That's the most important book I've ever read."
Wow.
From Cowgirl to Congress, because it's about women getting the vote, and it's fly on the wall. We get to be there while women get the vote because Jessie, my grandmother, was there. So anyway, that's what's great about Amazon.
In that book, did you ever get into the question that maybe we shouldn't have given the vote? I'm only kidding. That's a joke. That's just a joke.
That had been already addressed, but guess what? You're not going to believe this, Tony. I didn't know this till I wrote the book. I should have known this being with my grandmother all those years. Women first got the vote in Wyoming in 1869. I didn't know that. And this is another thing. Women of color got the vote way before 1920 because a lot of states wanted women to vote because they would be on their side and they would win the election. So that was the northern states for sure. But people don't realize all this. Oh, and get this. This is the most shocking thing. We got the vote in 1920. Okay, I hope you're sitting down. In England, they didn't get the vote till 1928. But guess what? Switzerland did not get the right to vote until 1971.
Wow, incredible!
I'm shocked by that. I'm like,
and they're supposed to be so forward thinking. Scandinavia, Switzerland is lower, but the European. Well, that is wow. This has been a truly most wonderful conversation. You provide so much value just in this interview alone. I'm sure that if people go to your website or took up your services or bought your books, then they'll get the real value. But you've explained to anyone listening how they can become an author very quickly, and to drop their notions of what it takes to be an author, because you've streamlined it. You've done the research. You've made the instruction list. So I tell you, I'm sold. I'm in, and we're going to be talking about me getting going with maybe just a 36 day program, whatever. But I see now with your content, with your services, what you offer, that I can finally get the book out that I've been wanting to do that I haven't done it, and it's fantastic. It's been great. Do you have any final remarks for the audience?
I always end by quoting Oprah for one thing, and she says, we must reinvent ourselves till the end. My grandmother had a career till she was 94. Her last speech she made with Gloria Steinem, Marlo Thomas, and Jane Fonda in Hollywood, and took me along. And I always say to people, because of where she came from and where I came from, no matter where you've come from or whatever's happened to you, you can be anything you want.
Absolutely. Great. That is, I totally believe that. I totally concur. And I also understand you have a free gift or some discounts for the audience or something.
Yes, if you go to my website, milajohansen.com, at the top, there's a freebie, and it's this book, 101 Surprising Tips. And I'm also going to send the link to Tony to.
Oh, by the way, that's surprising tips on how to promote your book for those not.
Oh, sorry, and almost anything. Actually, it would work for promoting other things too.
Okay.
But if you go to milajohansen.com and go for the freebie at the top, it'll give it right to you. And that's another thing, think about giving a PDF away of your book while you're still finishing your book on Amazon.
Wow, that's a great idea. That's great, to promote it, and that's fantastic. And you don't have to wait. You can just do it now. That's fantastic. So everyone, I encourage everyone to go to milajohansen.com. That's MilaJohansen. And she's on social media, Twitter, LinkedIn. She's on Facebook. There's a group. The group is Write Your Short Book, the Facebook group. And on the Facebook is From Pen Published. From Pen to Published. I'm sorry, From Pen to Published on Facebook. So there's two groups. So is that a page?
Well, yeah, actually the community group to grow for information and all kinds of tips is Write Your Short Book Today.
Okay, great stuff. Mila, it has been a true pleasure. I meant everything I said. We're going to be talking. I love what you're about. And you've got a great aura and a great personality. You've been really, it's going to sound like I'm insincere, but one of my favorite guests, because really, we talk about a lot of things about personal development here, but it's pretty common, it's not aspiration, just a dream that everyone has, I think, is to put out a book because of their own things happen to their lives, or just some idea they have. Doesn't have to be their biography, but something that they want to put out in the world, but they don't do it. And you've just discussed on how they can do it, and very realistically and quickly. So that is awesome. And I really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you very much. So I want to thank everyone for joining me. Mila, would you like to say goodbye?
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I love meeting you, and thank you.
Great. And same with me. And we'll see everyone at the next podcast. And remember, every one of us is responsible for ourselves, and we can all use a little help. With that, we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you for tuning in to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast, where insights, attitudes, and methods for success get illuminated. Learn what leaders and change workers have done and are doing now to create magnificent futures. Remember to visit our website at self-helpcoaching.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Self-Help Coaching Podcast.